looking at the position group and asking ourselves, how confident are we with that group? Do we think they need to add somebody, veteran free agent, whether that be high end or low end? So obviously today we're talking about the wide receiver group, and the wide receiver group for the Pittsburgh Steelers is very talented, but young. You could feel very confident. I can understand how people might feel a little bit nervous just with the greenness of the room in a sense, man. But the full roster as it sits right now, let me update it one more time just to make sure I don't have another one of them situations like last time. Anywho, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. Then you got George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Miles Boykin, Anthony Miller, Gunnar Olszewski, Cody White, Steven Sims, Tyler Vaughns, and Tyler Snead. My initial thoughts, man, when I'm looking at the group, definitely like it a lot. My confidence level, probably right around 7. I think I'm more than the midway point because I do feel very confident in Deontay and Chase. I think they're going to continue to grow and continue to develop. My biggest hangup is just waiting to see what Pickens and Calvin Austin look like because they're rookies, and that's the big thing. And just a sense of how long does it take them to get developed? How long does it take them to find their role? And once they gel, I think that this group has the potential to be one of the top units in the league. Not saying that they're going to have the best individual players, but in terms of the group, I think that the group, we could look at it and be like, man, they got 4 like dogs out there. But I just don't know how long it's going to take for that development to happen. But that's probably why I sit at about a 7 in terms of my overall confidence level in this group. And, I think that's pretty good for me, especially since I'm more of the pessimistic one when it pertains to the roster. What were your thoughts on them, though, man?
I'm really confident in this group because I think you have the floor, as you mentioned, of Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Mm-hmm. As much as we lament some of their shortcomings, they're still pretty damn good receivers. Yeah, Deontay Johnson made a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, and Chase, I mean, if he could just stay focused the whole time, I don't see why he can't make a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was expecting a big jump from him from his rookie year to his sophomore season. But still, I mean, I think by all accounts we can consider last year for him a disappointment. Still had like 800-something yards. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, his rookie year was something special, though, with those touchdowns. Yeah. So that's our floor right there as our top 2 receivers, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. And we expect them to emerge. But even if they don't, they kind of stay the same. Still 2 pretty good receivers. We know we have that. But Pickens and Austin, I really like. One of them is going to be awesome for us, I think, rookie season. And I think both of them will be really solid for us long term. But one of them is going to step up. I don't know who, because you could make the argument for Austin. He fits that slot receiver for us, where you have Deontay and Claypool as your 2 outside guys. But then you have Pickens, who, by all accounts, everyone's saying he's a top 3 wide receiver talent in this draft. The only thing holding him up was the injuries, really. So one of those guys are going to step up. I have faith in how we draft receivers. Not only, as I mentioned, long-term, like AB, it took him a year to really catch on. That's when he had his 1,000-yard year in his second year. But there's been multiple times receivers come in their rookie season and have really solid years, like Juju, 900 yards right there. Mike Wallace came in, really didn't. I mean, he adjusted to the NFL really good, had like 700-something yards, and it was just like that. So one of those dudes are going to step up. But also we have kind of like, what would you say, safety valves? Safety pieces, and Miles Boykin and Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller a little bit more proven in the NFL. Miles Boykin, we got a flyer there. So this receiver group's going to be really good, I think.
And I would agree, man. And then I also think of it in the sense of when we're talking about building that roster out, your 5, your 5th and 6th receiver, it's like, well, who's the special teams guy? I mean, you got Gunnar Olszewski, who's an all-pro return man in his own right.
So now the receivers don't have to worry about that potentially.
So it's like, man, we have a guy that does that part. Like, I think just top to bottom, like I said, my biggest thing was I just need to see it. Yeah. Once we get a chance to start seeing Pickens, seeing Austin in some of these games, I think that changes everything for me. It's just, I got to wait to see that. That's the only thing, man. But
throw Martavis in there, another receiver. Good
I would say, is that the veteran you would add? I mean, he is a free agent. Because if there was one thing about this group that I would say I would want to change, it would just be the veteran presence. But that's similar to what we talked about prior to the draft. I just think now
We
that the
drafted
draft-
2 receivers. We weren't
So
expecting
this is
that.
my thing. I would say that now that the draft's over, if I wanted to address bringing in a veteran, it wouldn't be a high end guy because now I don't want to do anything that's going to stunt the growth of the younger guys in terms of picking and Austins. I don't want to do anything that's going to throw off Deontay and Claypool. And that's why, like, as I'm looking at some of these names that are available as free agents, I'm like, yes, there's some dope names that are out there. We talk about Julio, Will Fuller, T.Y. Hilton. We obviously know Odell Beckham Jr. is out there. Deshaun Jackson. These are great names. But when I think of the fit and what they could potentially do by being here, I think it hurts us more than it helps us in a sense. Even though those are all very, very talented receivers, I just think with the group that we have and the way the money is set up in that room as well, I personally don't want to bring in one of those bigger name guys.
I don't think there's anyone really else out there then to sign, because I just don't want to bring a dude that I think's a bum.
What about a Mohamed Sanu? That's the dude that I thought of. In terms
I'm
of the
good.
veteran, could, you know, be quarterback friendly in terms of creating separation.
I don't think he
fits
sees
Matt
the field.
Canada.
That's my thing.
See, you don't. I think he would see.
He
the
could
field.
be our wide receiver coach.
No, I think he sees the field, bro. You got to understand, like, I mean, we've seen it every year. James Washington, elitely talented. Why wasn't he out there every single time? Like, it's certain players, it's like, it don't matter. Like, certain guys, like, even if they're not as athletic or as gifted, if they just fit or they understand certain concepts, they can do certain things, they're going to find a role. And I think Mohamed Sanu is one of those guys where it's like, yo, he knows the game, he knows the position, and he finds ways to get open. You know what I mean? Like, it's just certain things that he does in terms of his position flexibility as well that I do think that he would be able to get out there.
Him, Amendola. Those are probably it.
Interesting, yeah.
That's probably it. If you're talking from that aspect.
Yeah, because see that.
I don't really want either of them, though, to be honest with you.
See, to me, I think Sanu can do more than what Amendola can. And I think both of those guys are still cheap, but that's probably where I lie. Because, like, Marquise Goodwin, even though that's my dude, I'm just like, we have a small speedster now. And you're still more of a take the top off the defense vertical threat, but I feel good about the guys that we have now that can go vertical. I feel really good about George Pickens being a vertical threat as well now. Whereas when we're talking about years past, we really talked about, we said we didn't have speed. We didn't have that guy that could legit fly. Now we got 2 of those dudes in terms of Calvin Austin and in George Pickens, man. So once again, I'm just like, I don't feel like we have to touch any of these dudes, barring an injury, because that does change everything. Like, if you get an injury out there, of course, now it's a different conversation. But right now, I'm kind of cool, man.
Yeah, because all the names outside of the top guys are just fringe NFL roster players.
Right.
Why would we bring them in?
Now,
we already got like an Anthony Miller or a Miles Boykin, who probably has more upside than any of these guys anyway.
so this is a good question right here from Nee Drews, man. Shout out to Nee Drews. That's the Bahama homie right there. He says, Moats, do you consider Anthony Miller, Sims, and Miles Boykins to be veterans? I do think in a certain sense they are veterans because they have been in the league for multiple years. They've been around in terms of multiple teams. So yes, they're going to have a certain veteran element to them. When I was speaking on veterans in the context that I was speaking on, it was more so in the sense of guys that have had more productivity on the field. Because as a player, you respect, you respect the older players on your team, especially in your position. But if they don't have a crazy amount of productivity or starts, you don't necessarily look at them consistently and think, oh, let me just listen to everything this guy's telling me. He's going to teach me the way. Nah, you look at them like they're food. Like, bro, I'm finna take your job. You might as well go ahead and retire, man. You ain't got it on yet. It's not happening on my watch. So when I think of those guys you just named, I think that they're all veteran in the sense of age, but in the sense of on-field productivity, they're all still got a lot more to prove, a lot more to go to get to that point where you're looking at them as a younger player and you're like, you know what, I respect everything he says. I respect how he works. I respect this and this and this. Because there's certain guys, it's like, yo, you've been in the league, but you don't necessarily think that they're better than you. You're just kind of like, all right, you here, but you just been here. That's it. You ain't seen me yet. And now that I'm here, I'm about to take this. So I don't need to necessarily listen to what you're trying to tell me. Because maybe you're trying to set me up anyways. Because you already know I'm nicer than you. Like, that is kind of the mindset at times when you're talking about veteran players who aren't as productive. That makes sense.
So who's the leader in the receiver room?
Right now?
Pickens.
It's Deontay or Claypool. Pickens, obviously.
He's going to set the tone, I think.
I think Pickens is going to set the tone naturally with just his demeanor. But in terms of who's the, like, guy that even Pickens to an extent is going to look to is Deontay. Just because he has the Pro Bowl. He is technically the oldest tenure guy in terms of him being here the longest. I think that'd be the guy that everybody turns to initially. But as soon as Pickens gets comfortable, it's going to be Pickens' room without a doubt. Like Chase.
Just like Najee coming in last year. He was one of the top leaders on the team automatically.
Right. It's like, it ain't going to take long for him to... It took Najee about a week of OTA practice, and then it was like, he's the leader. That's the guy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think for Pickens, it's going to be similar. I just think the only difference is for Najee, when he came in, he didn't have a Pro Bowler at that position. We have Deontay, who was not just a Pro Bowler, but he's also in line to get a new deal. Whether that happens here or elsewhere, you still feel that energy. And that's kind of like how it was when I came over and we looked at Jason Worlds like that. It was like, yo, Worlds got the transition tag, but Worlds about to break the bank. So whatever Worlds is saying, whatever he's doing, we probably need to, emulate that or look into that. He did something right. Right. Now, Worlds was a gamer. He was a gamer. It worked out well for him. But in certain instances, it's like, when you have a guy in that, in that standing, you're like, yo, I want to follow, I want to listen, I want to practice how you practice and stuff like that. So
cool.
But yeah, it's definitely gonna be Pickens, man. Pickens gonna be that guy. As soon as he gets comfy, it's gonna be him. But I think to start out is Deontay.
I'm liking our future, man. Pickett, Najee, Pickens, one of the two, whether it's Claypool, Deontay sticking around, Freiermuth. I'm liking that, bro.
Yeah, man.
I'm liking it.
We set up nice, bro.